This is TWiT.
The CHIPS Act has cleared Congress, which is a big deal for the tech sector. Still to be signed by the president. No reason to think he won't. This is $52 billion, among other things, $52 billion in funding for domestic semiconductor manufacturing. Some people have said this should have passed years ago. China has, in the meantime, kind of taken over for semiconductor manufacturing. But I noted that TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, has already opened a plant in the U.S. Intel was waiting to break ground on its $20 billion fab in Arizona till this passed. So this is important, not only for competitiveness, but also for supply chain issues. Shoshana, you cover D.C. Do you cover these kinds of stories?
Bit. Some of my colleagues work on this kind of stuff. I do have concerns just anytime the government jumps in to make something more competitive, and it can sometimes, displace private investment, which we don't want to discourage. But more than anything, even despite my concerns, I think it comes at a really good time, noting that, we'll get chips while there's an avocado shortage. Avocado excess. We have too many avocados. There have been some stories on it.
I thought we had too few avocados.
No, there's too many.
Recently. Yeah, there's too many. So if any time
more chips,
to make this happen, it would be now.
More chips is now a necessity. So but actually kind of is an interesting point. They're putting the thumb on the scale, and government moves at a different pace than industry. The avocado shortage is a perfect example. The FDA inspectors were mad at Mexican avocado producers because they threatened some of the inspectors. So they cut off Mexican avocados, which caused a shortage. And then I guess what happened? Did they turn the faucet back on?
Did you stump your panel?
Sure.
Are you? Do you think we are avocado experts?
You seem to know what was going on in the avocado wars. All right. Well, anyway.
So, I didn't know that avocados were supposed to be coming from my faucet. I'm going to talk to my utility commission about that. They try to take as much as they can. So I'm going to make sure that that's fixed. But yeah, I do worry about government putting its thumb on the scale sometimes. Yeah. And I know that's my libertarian bent, but it's genuine. It's from a place of when we didn't allow baby formula from abroad, and then our few corporations producing it, we're having trouble. And then the FDA is like, oh, well, we can wait. Oops, maybe we should approve these ones that are totally fine and just have different labeling. So I'm always thinking about it in that perspective.
Appropriately. But at the same time, and we always have this debate, especially within the technology sector and government. On the one hand, I don't really want the technology sector to regulate itself. But on the other hand, is government the right way to do it? But I don't know what other solution we have, right?
This is a really weird scenario, too, because what we're talking about, and this was obviously this passed with some support from both parties. It's this strange combination of, on the one hand, it is the government giving money to Intel and I think to TSMC for some American fabs. And that is handing money to a for-profit corporation just right out of the government, and that has those echoes of like Airbus getting European subsidies and Boeing crying foul and all of that. At the same time, though, there's this perception that China itself is funding all of its chip gains in China, which is dangerous. Some view because of not only China's increased prowess, but the fact that Taiwan Semiconductor is basically number one in this space right now. And if you eliminate the need for Taiwan Semiconductor to be number one, you're also actually eliminating potentially one of the things that keeps China from invading Taiwan. So there's geopolitics stuff going on here too. And I feel like maybe in this case, what brought the Republicans over to the CHIPS Act was a little bit more of the geopolitics of we need to have American chip fabs and not just have everything be in Taiwan and China. Rather than the kind of corporate welfare aspect of it, because it is that, but it's also this other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jason, but I think, to that point, I think, and it might be in this Verge story, actually, I think it was criticized by Bernie Sanders for being what he called a blank check. So a giveaway to some of these very large companies.
Yeah, he said that exactly. Yeah. And these companies are massively profitable, as we're going to discuss momentarily. It's funny when you get Bernie Sanders on one side and conservatives on the other side agreeing on something. I don't know. I don't know what to think.
That's a win for Biden.
Yes, I guess. I guess Bernie does not look happy here. He's very, very unhappy about this. And I agree that giving. Bernie says $76 billion to one of the most profitable sectors in the country. Does seem like a lot, but hey, it's also important for competitivity. It's also important, as you point out, Jason, for geopolitical issues. So I don't know.
I think the truth is that I think fabs have not been. I mean, there's a reason that the fabs aren't built in the U.S. anymore, right? And there is a reason for that. And so what they're trying to do here is provide this extra incentive to say, no, we really want there to be fabs in the U.S. And if you're not going to build them of your own free will, what if we sweeten the pot a little bit? And I get that from a strategic standpoint, but it does always make you do a double take because, as Shoshana said, it's the government intervening in a market and basically distorting the market by saying, we will write you a check for no reason other than that we want you to build your fab here instead of in another country.
Yeah. I think we can all agree, though, this is good, billions to the National Science Foundation for semiconductor manufacturing research. This is, in a way, this has been because of Apple investing so much for iPhone production with TSMC and Foxconn, and they're getting the benefit because they're taking that money. TSMC has done that to really improve their processes to get down to 5 and 3 nanometer processes, thanks to this big influx of money from Apple computers so that they can build chips for the iPhone. I think maybe this is a fair place to put money, NSF for semiconductor research, because we do need to maintain competitiveness. So I think that one is probably nonpartisan.
It's funny, too, because you think about how Intel has just badly misplayed everything the last decade.
Well, yeah.
And they continue to do so. And although they're making some changes, why did Apple go to TSMC? Well, one of the reasons is that Intel for a long time had the policy that they weren't going to make any chips that they didn't themselves design. And then they kind of blew the design. And as a result, they fell behind TSMC. So I agree. It's great to see some investment in pure research, because that's one way that you end up with people in the United States who are on the forefront of chip technology, and that leads to them going into industry. And that's a more of a kind of fertilization approach to this rather than writing a big check so that Intel builds a fab in Phoenix.